The lecture hall smelled like ozone and arrogance. Elena Cross sat in the back row, slouched just enough to appear disinterested but not enough to draw attention. Around her, 200 cadets from 17 different species filled the tiered seats of the Valtorian Military Academy's main auditorium. Most ignored her. The few who noticed shot looks ranging from pity to contempt. Humans were still new to the Galactic Coalition. 3 years since first contact, 2 years since the treaty, 1 year since they started accepting human applicants to their prestigious institutions. Elena was one of 12 humans accepted into the academy this cycle. The others had already washed out. She was determined to be the first to graduate, even if it killed her to play stupid. The Battle of Kronos Ridge demonstrates the critical importance of high ground advantage in orbital assault scenarios, Commander Vexis announced from the holographic podium. His scales shimmered blue and silver under the lights, matching his self-satisfied expression. Notice how the Vexian fleet commander positioned his dreadnoughts in geosynchronous orbit above the enemy supply lines. Textbook execution. Elena bit her tongue. The Battle of Kronos Ridge had been a massacre. 16,000 lives lost because some glory-hungry admiral wanted his name in history books. She had watched the actual tactical breakdowns. The Vexian commander had been an idiot. Miss Cross, Vexis called out, making her name sound like an insult. Perhaps you can enlighten us with the human perspective on orbital warfare. I understand your species only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. Snickers rippled through the hall. Elena looked up slowly, meeting his reptilian gaze with practiced innocence. I would not presume to add anything to your expertise, Commander, she replied evenly. My understanding of tactical theory is rudimentary at best. More laughter. Vexis preened, his crest flaring with satisfaction. Indeed. Well, perhaps you will learn something today. Elena returned her attention to her datapad, pretending to take notes while actually reading a novel. It was the same performance she gave in every class. Mediocre test scores, hesitant answers, physical training exercises completed just barely within acceptable parameters. She had become invisible through calculated incompetence. The cadet beside her, a thornback named Krell, leaned over. His breath smelled like copper and spite. Why do you even bother showing up, human? You will never make it past first-year evaluations. Probably not, Elena agreed cheerfully. But the food is decent and the library is extensive. Krell snorted and turned away. Perfect. Exactly the reaction she wanted. The lecture droned on. Vexis loved the sound of his own voice, especially when discussing battles he had never fought in. Elena had learned his type existed in every military across every species. Career academics who taught theory but fled from practice. She had served under a few, buried more than a few. Now then, Vexis continued, manipulating the holographic display, we will examine actual combat footage from the siege of Earthgate Station. This battle occurred 18 months ago during the Korthian invasion. It represents a fascinating case study in defensive failure. Elena's blood turned cold. Her fingers tightened imperceptibly on her datapad. Earthgate Station was a minor human outpost on the edge of Coalition space, Vexis explained to the class. When the Korthian fleet arrived with 40 capital ships, the station commander chose to engage rather than retreat, a foolish decision that cost 3,000 human lives and resulted in the station's destruction. The hologram shifted, displaying a tactical overview of the battle. Elena recognized every detail: the orbital platform, the incoming attack vectors, the impossible odds. She had been there. She had given those orders. The human commander was clearly incompetent, Vexis declared. Basic defensive doctrine dictates immediate evacuation when facing superior force. Instead, this individual attempted a suicidal stand that accomplished nothing beyond adding to the casualty count. Elena's jaw clenched. 3,000 lives. She remembered every single name, every face in the memorial database, every family notification she had personally written, and this pompous fool was using their sacrifice as an example of failure. However, Vexis said, his tone shifting to something almost impressed, there was an unusual element to this engagement. The station managed to delay the Korthian fleet for 47 hours before falling. Our analyst remained puzzled by how such an outmatched force held out so long. Maybe the human commander was not as incompetent as you claim, a voice called out. A female Miran cadet named Sora, one of the few who occasionally spoke to Elena without condescension. Vexis's crest flattened. The result speaks for itself. The station was destroyed. All hands lost. All hands, Elena heard herself ask. The words escaped before she could stop them. The lecture hall fell silent. Vexis turned, clearly surprised she had spoken. Yes, Miss Cross. All hands. Why do you ask? Elena forced herself to shrug casually. No reason. Just confirming the details. But Vexis had noticed something. His eyes narrowed with predatory interest. Actually, I believe we have recovered footage from the battle, quite rare. The Korthians do not typically leave evidence behind, but our intelligence division salvaged several data cores from the wreckage. He manipulated the controls. I had not planned to show this today. The footage is quite graphic. But perhaps it will serve as a valuable lesson about the cost of tactical incompetence. The hologram flickered. Then the recording began. Elena stopped breathing. The view was from an external camera on Earthgate's primary hull. The station hung in space like a metal flower, its defensive arrays already glowing with weapons fire. In the distance, the Korthian fleet advanced in perfect formation, 40 massive warships that blotted out the stars. As you can see, Vexis narrated, the human position was hopeless from the start. The first wave hit. Earthgate's shields flared white under the barrage. Return fire lanced out bright streams of accelerated particles that splashed uselessly against Korthian armor. Notice the scattered defensive fire. No coordination, no strategy. Elena wanted to scream. The defensive fire was perfectly coordinated. Every shot was calculated to maximize shield depletion while conserving power. She had designed the firing pattern herself. The recording continued. Hours compressed into minutes. The station taking hit after hit, shields failing section by section, but still firing back. Still holding position. Then the audio crackled to life. A woman's voice, calm despite the chaos, issued commands through the station's command channel. Engineering, reroute auxiliary power to forward shields. Weapons, focus all batteries on the flagship's port side. Medical, prepare for casualties in Section 7. Elena felt the eyes turning toward her. One by one, cadets looking between the hologram and the humans sitting in the back row. Because that voice, despite the static and stress, was unmistakably familiar. Navigation. Prepare emergency burn on my mark. We are going to use the moon's gravity well to slingshot behind their formation. Vexis froze the playback. His scaled hand trembled slightly on the controls. That voice, he said slowly, that is impossible. The hologram zoomed in on the station's bridge. Through the reinforced windows, a figure was visible in the command chair. Female. Human. Dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun. Face illuminated by the red glow of emergency lighting. The resolution was not perfect, but it was clear enough to show features that matched the student sitting in the back row. The station's commander was listed as Captain E. Cross. Vexis read from his database, his voice hollow. No first name provided in the initial reports, status confirmed as killed in action when the station's core went critical. Elena stood slowly. Every eye in the lecture hall locked on her. I got better, she said quietly. The silence stretched. Then Krell laughed, a harsh barking sound. This is absurd. You expect us to believe the human failure sitting in our academy was actually a ship commander. Look at her. She can barely pass basic tactical exams. Because I am pretending to barely pass, Elena replied, her voice shifting. The uncertain student vanished, replaced by something harder, colder. Passing too well draws attention. Attention gets you transferred to active duty. Active duty gets you killed. I have had enough of dying for one lifetime. Vexis stared at her. If you were truly this commander, why enroll as a first-year cadet? Why hide? Because the war is not over, Elena said simply. The Korthians were just the opening act. More threats are coming, worse threats, and when they arrive, the coalition will need soldiers who actually know how to fight, not academy graduates who memorized theories from instructors who have never seen real combat. She walked down the steps toward the holographic display, her boots echoing in the deadly quiet hall. You called Earthgate a failure, Commander Vexis. You said I accomplished nothing. So let me correct your incomplete record. She gestured at the frozen image. That suicidal stand you mocked. It delayed the Korthian fleet for 47 hours. 47 hours that allowed coalition reinforcements to reach the Meridian colonies. 3 billion lives saved because 3,000 were willing to die. Elena reached the hologram and manipulated the controls, fast-forwarding the recording. We knew we could not win. We knew the station would fall, but we also knew every minute we held mattered. So we fought, not because we were incompetent, not because we were reckless, but because Zetem's survival is not about living through the battle. Sometimes it is about buying time for others to live. The recording showed the final moments. The station breaking apart. Escape pods launching desperately, Korthian fighters picking them off one by one. The official record says all hands were lost, Elena continued. That is almost correct. 73 crew members made it to escape pods. 72 were destroyed during evacuation. One pod's beacon malfunctioned. The Korthians never found it. That pod drifted for 16 days before a coalition patrol picked it up. She turned to face Vexis directly. I was in that pod, Commander. Alone, because I ordered my senior staff to take the other pods while I manually overrode the core to buy them time. I survived because I was the last one off a dying station and got lucky. The lecture hall remained frozen. Elena could see minds recalculating, reassessing everything they thought they knew about the quiet human in the back row. After my rescue, command offered me a medal and a promotion. I turned both down. I asked for a discharge and academy enrollment under a privacy seal. They agreed because no one wants to advertise how close we came to losing the Meridian colonies. Better to let people think Earthgate was an unfortunate defeat rather than a desperate sacrifice that barely succeeded. Vexis had gone very still, his scales fading to a pale gray. Why reveal yourself now? He asked. Elena smiled without humor. Because you used my crew's deaths as an example of tactical failure. You disrespected their sacrifice to make yourself sound intelligent. And I am done staying quiet while people who have never bled for anything lecture about battles they will never fight. She looked around the hall, meeting eyes that could not hold her gaze. I came to this academy to learn, to improve, to prepare for what is coming. I hid my identity because I wanted to be treated like every other cadet, to earn my place honestly without the baggage of being the Earthgate survivor. But clearly that was naive. So fine. Now you know. The human sitting in the back row is not some incompetent newcomer who barely understands warfare. Elena turned back to Vexis, and her voice dropped to something that made several cadets flinch. I am the woman who held off 40 Korthian capital ships with a mining station and 3,000 volunteers. I am the commander who bought 3 billion people another day to live, and I am done pretending to be less than I am to make you comfortable. The playback resumed on its own. On screen, Earthgate Station's core finally detonated, a miniature sun that consumed everything within 10,000 kilometers. The shockwave caught the Korthian flagship, crippling its engines just long enough for coalition reinforcements to arrive and finish the job. Elena watched her own destruction play out in holographic light. So yes, Commander Vexis, she said softly. I was there. I gave those orders. I lost those people. And if you ever use their deaths as an example of failure again, I will show you exactly what 3,000 humans accomplished in their final 47 hours. The recording ended. The hologram faded to black. In the darkness before the lights rose, Elena heard footsteps. Running footsteps. Multiple cadets fleeing the hall, unable to process what they had just witnessed. When illumination returned, Vexis stood alone at the podium, looking like he had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. And in the back row, Krell sat frozen, his earlier contempt replaced by something between terror and awe. Elena climbed the steps back to her seat, collected her datapad, and walked toward the exit. Class dismissed, Vexis whispered behind her. But as Elena reached the door, it slid open to reveal 3 figures in Coalition Military Command uniforms, 2 admirals and a general, their faces grim. Captain Cross, the general said formally, we need to talk. Elena's blood went cold. Not Captain. Not anymore. I am just a cadet now, General Stone. Not since the moment that recording started playing, Stone replied. The privacy seal is broken. Command knows. The media will know within hours. And more importantly, he handed her a datapad. Elena read the first line and felt her world shift. Korthian fleet detected at the outer markers. 400 ships. They are coming for Earth itself. The general's expression was haunted. We need the woman who held Earthgate. We need her now. Because this time, there is no mining station to sacrifice. This time, if we fail, humanity is extinct. Elena stared at the tactical display on the datapad. 400 ships. 10 times what hit Earthgate. Behind her, she heard gasps as other cadets saw the news breaking on their own devices. The whispers started immediately. And Elena Cross, the student who had hidden in the back row for 6 months, felt the weight of 3,000 ghosts settling on her shoulders once more. The Tactical Operations Center buzzed with controlled chaos. Elena stood at the central holotable, watching 400 red icons advance toward Earth's orbit with the inevitability of a death sentence. Around her, admirals and generals argued strategies that all ended the same way. Total annihilation. We have 200 operational ships, Admiral Chen reported, her voice tight. The Korthians have learned from Earthgate. They are coming with overwhelming force this time. Then we make them pay for every kilometer, General Stone growled. With what? Admiral Thrace demanded. Even if we mobilized every defense platform, every frigate, every damn shuttle with a weapon mount, we are still outnumbered 2-to-1 by ships that outclass our entire fleet. Elena said nothing. She studied the display, her mind already running calculations that made her stomach twist. The mathematics were brutal. Earth had days, maybe hours once the Korthian fleet entered weapons range. Captain Cross, Stone said formally. All eyes turned to her. You have the most experience fighting Korthians of anyone in this room. What do you recommend? I recommend evacuation, Elena replied bluntly. Get every civilian transport off-world. Head for deep space. Scatter in every direction. Some will survive. That is surrender, Thrace snapped. That is reality. Elena shot back. At Earthgate I had a fortified position and 40 ships to face. Here, Earth is a sitting target and they brought 10 times that number. There is no miracle coming. There is no clever tactic that beats these odds. We can fight and die, or we can run and some of us might live. The room erupted in protests. Elena let them argue. Her eyes still on the display, but something nagged at her. A detail that did not fit. General, she interrupted the shouting. You said they learned from Earthgate. How do we know that? Stone pulled up a secondary screen. Intelligence intercepts. The Korthian command structure has been studying the battle for months. They specifically referenced not making the same mistakes that cost them the flagship. Show me the intercepts. The documents appeared. Elena read through them rapidly, her tactical training picking up patterns others had missed. These are not battle preparations, she said slowly. These are hunt protocols. What is the difference? Chen asked. At Earthgate, they wanted the station destroyed quickly so they could continue their advance. Here. Elena gestured at the formation data. They are taking their time, moving in slowly, broadcasting their approach. This is not an invasion fleet. Then what is it? Stone demanded. Elena felt cold understanding wash over her. It is a revenge fleet. They are not coming to conquer Earth. They are coming to kill me. Silence fell across the operations center. After Earthgate, I became a symbol. Elena continued. The human who cost them their flagship, the commander who proved their supposedly invincible fleet, could be stopped. They have spent 1.5 years hunting for the survivor. Now that my identity is public, they know exactly where I am. You think they brought 400 ships to execute one person? Thrace said incredulously. I think they brought 400 ships to make sure I cannot slip away again, Elena corrected. The Korthians do not tolerate embarrassment. Earthgate made them look weak. They need to correct that image. She manipulated the holotable, isolating the command ship signatures. Look at the formation. The flagships are positioned to create overlapping kill zones that cover every possible escape route from Earth. They are not positioning for planetary bombardment. They are setting a trap. General Stone leaned forward. If you are correct, what does that change? Everything, Elena said quietly. Because if they want me specifically, we can use that. Absolutely not, Chen interrupted. You are suggesting yourself as bait. I am suggesting we turn their hunt into their funeral. Elena pulled up Earth's orbital infrastructure, highlighting defensive platforms, civilian stations, and commercial satellites. We cannot fight them head-on. We established that, but we do not need to. We just need to make them think they have won. Draw them in close. Make them confident. Then spring a trap they cannot escape. With what trap? Thrace challenged. We do not have weapons that can crack 400 Korthian warships. No, Elena agreed, but we have something better. We have their arrogance. She outlined the plan quickly. It was insane, suicidal, the kind of strategy that would get her court-martialed under normal circumstances. The admirals listened in stunned silence. You want to blow up the moon, Stone said flatly when she finished. Not the whole moon, just enough to create a debris field moving at orbital velocity. The Korthians will cluster their formation to box me in. If we time the detonation correctly, the resulting cascade will tear through their hulls like paper. That is mass murder on a scale we have never attempted, Chen whispered. They are here to commit genocide, Elena countered. I am offering them a choice. Leave or die. I suspect they will choose poorly. Thrace shook his head. Even if your mathematics work, even if we could somehow rig the moon with enough explosives, you would need to survive long enough to lure them into position. In what ship? They will obliterate anything we send out. Elena smiled grimly. Then we do not send a ship. We send me alone in an escape pod broadcasting my identity beacon, make them think I am running, make them chase, and when they are perfectly positioned, you detonate the moon with yourself in the blast radius. Stone finished. You will not survive that. Probably not, Elena admitted. But 3 billion people will. Same math as Earthgate. Better ratio. Honestly. The room exploded in arguments. Elena tuned them out, already running simulations on the tactical display. The numbers were tight, but they worked. Barely. If everything went perfectly. If the Korthians behaved exactly as predicted. If her pod could survive long enough in the debris field to trigger the detonation. Too many ifs. But it was the only plan that had any chance at all. No, General Stone said finally, his voice cutting through the chaos. Absolutely not. We are not sacrificing the Earthgate survivor on a plan with a 0% chance of extraction. You do not have anyone else who can pull this off. Elena replied calmly. Then we find another way. There is no other way, General. You know it. I know it. Everyone in this room knows it. We can waste time pretending otherwise, or we can save our planet. Choose. Stone stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to the assembled officers. Clear the room. Admiral Chen, Thrace, stay. Everyone else, out. Now. The operations center emptied quickly. When only the 4 of them remained, Stone approached Elena directly. I knew your father, he said quietly. Served with him before first contact. He was a good man, made me promise if anything happened to him I would look out for you. He died when I was 12, Elena replied. You have kept that promise long enough. That is not how promises work, Captain. You cannot just release me from an oath because it is convenient. Elena met his eyes. Then honor the spirit of that promise. My father taught me that some things are worth dying for. Home, family, humanity. This is all 3. He also taught you that some things are worth living for. Stone countered. And I will live through this? Elena lied. They both knew it was a lie, but lies were sometimes kinder than truth. Chen stepped forward. If we do this, and I am not saying we should, but if we do, we need time to rig the lunar surface with enough explosives. That means buying at least 48 hours. I can buy you 48 hours, Elena confirmed. How? Thrace demanded. The same way I bought 47 at Earthgate. By making them believe they are winning right up until the moment they realize they have already lost. She pulled up a detailed schematic. I will take a pod out, broadcast a distress signal claiming engine failure. Make it look like I am stranded. They will swarm in, confident they have me trapped. While they position for the kill, your teams plant the charges. When they are perfectly clustered, boom. Thrace finished grimly. Boom, Elena agreed. Stone paced away, hands clasped behind his back. This is madness. This is war. Elena corrected. War is madness with better planning. The political fallout will be catastrophic. Destroying our own moon? The environmental consequences alone will be handled by the billions of people who survive because we gave them a future. Elena interrupted. Dead planets do not worry about tides, General. Let the living argue about consequences. Our job is to make sure there are enough humans left to have that argument. Chen pulled up environmental impact models. She is right. If we do nothing, the Korthians torch the planet and the moon is irrelevant. If we do this, we trade lunar stability for continued existence. The math favors her plan. I hate the math, Stone muttered, but his resistance was crumbling. They all heard it. We have hours, Elena pressed. Make the call. The general looked at each of them in turn. 3 officers waiting for an order that would either save humanity or destroy it. Prep the lunar demolition teams, he said finally. Admiral Chen, scramble every engineering crew we have. I want shaped charges placed at optimal fracture points. Admiral Thrace, prepare evacuation protocols in case this goes wrong. And Captain Cross, Elena stood at attention. Try not to die, Stone said quietly. Your father would haunt me if I let that happen. I will do my best, sir. 6 hours later, Elena sat alone in an escape pod barely larger than a coffin, watching Earth shrink in her viewport. The pod's distress beacon screamed into the void, broadcasting her name and position to every ship within light years, including 400 Korthian warships that had just altered course directly toward her. Beacon is working, Chen's voice crackled through the comm. They are converging on your position. Demolition teams report 60% completion on the charges. Tell them to work faster. Elena replied, watching the red icons swarm closer on her tactical display. You could still abort, get back here before their weapons range, and waste 6 hours of prep work. Not a chance. Elena, Chen's voice softened. You do not have to do this. Yeah, I really do. The first Korthian ships entered visual range. Massive dreadnoughts that made her pod look like a pebble facing avalanches. Their weapon ports glowed with charging energy. They are hailing you, Chen reported. Audio only. Put them through. Static hissed. Then a voice, translated through coalition protocols, filled her pod, deep, ancient, furious. Human Elena Cross, Earthgate Commander. We have hunted you across the stars. You humiliated our fleet, killed our admiral, escaped justice. No more running, no more hiding. You die here. Today, slowly. We will broadcast your execution across the galaxy as a lesson. Elena activated her own comm. Korthian Fleet Commander, this is Captain Elena Cross. I have a counter-offer. Turn around, leave this system. Forget revenge, live to fight another day. Laughter echoed through the channel. You sit in an escape pod with no weapons, no support, no hope. What leverage do you possibly believe you possess? The same leverage I had at Earthgate. Elena replied. Knowledge. I know something you do not. What knowledge could a trapped animal offer? Elena smiled. I know you are already dead. You just have not realized it yet. The channel cut off. The Korthian fleet accelerated, forming a perfect sphere around her position, exactly as predicted, exactly as planned. Demolition teams? Elena asked calmly. 90% complete. Chen reported. 10 more minutes. They will be in firing position in 8. Elena, get it done, Admiral. The Korthian ships moved closer. Energy weapons charged to full power. Elena could see the calculations happening in real time. They wanted her conscious for this, wanted her aware. They would disable the pod first, breach it, drag her out for a public execution. Arrogance. Always their fatal flaw. Charges placed, Chen announced. All teams extracted. Detonation on your mark. Wait for my signal, Elena said. Let them get comfortable. The lead dreadnought fired. Not a killing shot. A disabling blast that tore through her pod's engines, sending her tumbling. Alarms screamed. Life support flickered. Perfect. Human Cross. The Korthian commander called again. Your pod is disabled. We are sending a boarding shuttle. You will be taken alive. You will face justice for your crimes against our people. Your death will take days. Thanks for the warning, Elena muttered. The shuttle launched, a small craft that moved with predatory grace toward her spiraling pod. Distance to optimal detonation point, she asked Chen. 200 kilometers, you need them closer. They will come closer. They want to watch me realize I lost, and they did. The entire fleet tightened formation, drawn by the spectacle of capturing the Earthgate survivor, 400 warships clustering together in a sphere no more than 500 kilometers in diameter. Exactly the formation Elena had predicted. Exactly the trap they walked into willingly. Demolition teams, she said calmly. Fire everything. Confirmed. Firing. For 3 seconds. Nothing happened. Then the moon shattered. It did not explode like a bomb. It fractured like glass struck by a hammer, breaking along the fault lines where shaped charges had been placed with mathematical precision. Trillions of tons of lunar mass suddenly freed from gravity, accelerating outward in an expanding wave of debris moving at orbital velocity. The Korthian fleet had 2 seconds to react. Not nearly enough. Rocks the size of skyscrapers tore through their hulls. Smaller fragments shredded their shields. The cascade of destruction built on itself, each destroyed ship adding its own wreckage to the maelstrom. Elena's pod tumbled through the chaos, alarms screaming, hull cracking under the impacts. She watched through her fractured viewport as 400 Korthian ships disintegrated in the largest debris field humanity had ever created. The commander's channel opened one final time. Just audio. Just static and screaming and the sound of a ship dying. "How?" he gasped through the noise. "How did you know?" "Because you came for revenge instead of victory," Elena whispered. "Because arrogance always costs more than you can afford. Because you forgot the first rule of hunting." "What rule?" "Sometimes the prey has teeth." The channel died. The fleet died. Elena's pod tumbled deeper into the debris field, losing atmosphere, losing power, losing hope of survival. Worth it. Her vision faded. Her lungs burned. Her body failed. But through the cracked viewport she could see Earth, still blue, still whole, still alive. 3 billion people who would wake up tomorrow because 3,000 had died 18 months ago and one more was dying now. The mathematics worked. They always did. Her last thought before the darkness took her was simple satisfaction. Her crew would be proud. Then nothing. Then light. Elena woke up to white ceiling tiles and the smell of antiseptic. Her body ached like she had been crushed and reassembled. Medical equipment beeped around her. "She is awake," a familiar voice said. General Stone appeared in her vision, looking older than she remembered. Or maybe she just saw him more clearly now. "You were supposed to die heroically," he said with mock disappointment. "Very cinematic. The reports were already written, and then you had to go and survive. Very inconvenient for the media narrative." Elena tried to speak. Her throat was raw. Stone held up water. "A patrol found your pod half crushed in the debris field. You had about 3 minutes of air left. The pod's emergency beacon was still functioning. Barely. They pulled you out more dead than alive." He helped her drink. "That was 4 days ago. You have been in surgery twice, critical condition 3 times. Died and came back once, which frankly seems on brand for you at this point." "The Korthians?" Elena managed to rasp. "Obliterated. Every ship. 0 survivors. The debris field is being catalogued as we speak. It will orbit Earth for the next 1,000 years. Future archaeologists will have fun with that one." Elena closed her eyes. "The moon? About 30% smaller than it used to be. Tides are going to be weird for a while, but the planet is intact, and humanity survived. The coalition is calling it the greatest tactical victory in the war. You are a hero. Again, very annoying for someone who keeps trying to die quietly." "I am retiring," Elena muttered. "For real this time." "Too late. You are famous." The student who hid her strength got revealed by war recordings, saved the planet, destroyed an invasion fleet, and survived impossible odds. The media loves you. The military needs you. The academy wants you teaching. You are trapped in a nightmare of your own making. Elena would have laughed if it did not hurt so much. "I just wanted to study in peace. Should have stayed dead then," Stone replied without sympathy. "But you are terrible at that." "I will practice." "Please do not. Earth needs you alive. Humanity needs symbols, and whether you like it or not, you are ours." He stood to leave, then paused. "Your father would be proud. Just so you know." Elena stared at the ceiling long after he left. Her body was broken. Her anonymity was destroyed. Her quiet academy life was finished. But Earth still turned. Humanity still breathed. 3 billion lives continued because she had learned one fundamental truth. Some things were worth dying for, and some things, against all odds and logic and mathematics, were worth surviving for. The mathematics worked. They always did. Even when they calculated in favor of living,